Food and Beverage Magazine Live, bringing food and beverage to life with your hosts, James Beard Award winner Jennifer English and Food and Beverage Magazine publisher Michael Politz. Featuring leaders in the hospitality, branded food and beverage, and CPG industries, many of whom are Jennifer and Michael's friends in the business, for an informal and informative conversation where friends in the business share the latest intel, ideas, and best practices. Live, juicy inside scoop from the tastemakers, newsmakers, bread bakers, drink shakers, spoon lickers, clam diggers, farms, foodies, and friends of the food and beverage magazine world. Here are your hosts, Jennifer English and Michael Politz.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Jennifer English. I'm the editor-at-large of Food and Beverage Magazine, and one of my great joys is always getting to discover new things. You know, I've been in the food business a very long time. I've been in branded consumer packaged good industry marketing for a long time. I used to work in agencies back east, and I worked on big brand names that are in everybody's kitchen right now. And I loved it. But the industry's changing. And as we pay more attention to what we're eating and how we're eating, that's one bundle of factors. Another bundle of factors is with COVID, so many of our culinary industry professionals, well, they've lost their gig. And so they're having to take their side hustle or the thing that they're genius at making and turning that into not only a side hustle, but now their main hustle. And that's another part of this. And then during COVID, we're staying home, and more of us are going online for more and more of our shopping. And one of the few categories that has been growing over the last 12 months has been online food sales. So take all those three things, put them in a pot, stir them together, and what have you got? Well, you've got an opportunity that a brilliant company is taking and making real, the opportunity and the dream of becoming the next big thing. In food and in food media, we're always saying, what's the next big thing? Well, the leading product discovery platform in the world exists right near the heart, what I'll call the epicenter, the most delicious place in the United States, Culinary Central, the greater Bay Area of San Francisco, with Napa and Humboldt Bay and certainly right downtown in the Bay Area. So we've got so much to talk about with the company's founder, Brendan Leong. He joins us now from his test kitchens in San Francisco. I am so thrilled to have you here. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
So we used to do trade shows, and that's how a lot of us would discover things. Many of us went to farmers markets. That's how we discovered things. But the greatest new products in the world, and they're being invented, created, and born at a dizzying clip in response to all the factors I just mentioned. And somehow you've managed to lasso them and make it really possible for the matchmaking between suppliers and makers and vendors to happen. I want to say on behalf of all the food entrepreneurs out there, thank you. But tell us a little bit about your company, RangeMe.
Yeah, so thanks so much. I mean, you've done a really good job. You're hired, you're marketing, you're in. But so RangeMe, essentially, we are the industry standard for sourcing products online. We work with about 70% of the top 100 retailers in the U.S. And thousands of regional independent retailers. But we're talking about retailers like Whole Foods, Walmart, Rite Aid, CVS, Walgreens, Bed Bath & Beyond, Sephora, Ulta Beauty, GNC, Vitamin Shop, Publix, Albertsons, Safeway, 7-Eleven, Do It Best, you name it, we work with them. And we work with them in a very unique way. So if you go to any of those retailers that I mentioned websites, and you're looking to submit a product for them, for their shelves or to review by their buying teams, you have to go through RangeMe. So RangeMe has essentially helped streamline the inbound submission process for these retailers, creating a standard way for them to discover. And because we're always on for them to have access to those inbounds, they use us proactively to find new products for their stores. And this is where the fun happens. Because of that and through that, RangeMe has over now 200,000 product suppliers and manufacturers on the platform, the largest active database in the world. And product suppliers and manufacturers, they're using us for one of two reasons. One, as a channel to be discovered by these amazing retailers and their buyers, but very similar to how like LinkedIn replaced the resume or the business card. RangeMe has done the same thing with the sell sheet.
Right.
So now this is a way for you to have your B2B presence, your online catalog, your product line in a dynamic, real-time, easy to share, industry standard way that buyers are used to, and that you can share for all of your B2B activities, right? So this is not your corporate site. This is not your customer-facing site where you sell to consumers, right? This is your B2B. You got to get into retail, right? So this is the way this is the wave of the future. This is how buyers can discover at scale, and how suppliers and producers can be discovered at scale.
Let's talk a little bit about one of the things you didn't mention that's implied here, is that there's actually an aspect of vetting that becomes critically important for major retailers when they are inundated with these dynamic young entrepreneurs and new companies. There are certain fundamentals that go in being successful as a supplier to a big store. We see people on Shark Tank all the time saying, I want to be in Bed Bath & Beyond. I want to be in Whole Foods. And sometimes people aren't ready, and sometimes they're not aware of what it takes. And sometimes that requires someone to double check and say, are you ready? It's a phrase that I'm getting known for on Clubhouse and with all our readers, because I constantly ask people, are you ready? Your company is the company that is telling all of these retailers, these are people who are ready. And there couldn't be anything more important, because once you get in there, you don't want to fall apart and lose that opportunity, because once you lose that, it's hard to get back in.
Yeah.
It's kind of your one bite of the apple.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Like, we, the platform itself is very much a snapshot of the entire industry, right? So you have, at any given moment in the US, there's 1.3 million suppliers that exist out there. Some come, some go, some make it big, some don't. But really what it's about is, like, there's that snapshot, the greater 70-75%. We're talking about all the way from people brewing kombucha in their bathtub with a dream, to your ones that are the farmers market all-stars, right? And then there's that 10%, those challenger brands, those 75-85% of those challenger brands that exist. That those are the ones who are penetrating the market. They might be selling in one or two big retailers, or maybe a bunch of regionals. And then you have your top brands, right? The ones that are like maintain their foothold in the industry, the ones that have already broken through. And the crazy part about it is, a lot of the ones who are coming to market now, the dreamers, right? The ones that we want, the ones that you and I are talking about, they're makers, right? They're the ones, they're bakers, they're farmers, they're producers, they're inventors. They're not business people, and on top of that, they don't know the industry, right? So a lot of times, the first time they realize what they need to just even be in retail, or what a retailer would ask them to get on their shelf, is their sign-up process for RangeMe. Is like, I need insurance, barcodes. I thought my QR code was fine. Nutrition labels, ingredients, things like that, like EIN number, tax ID. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? And once you start to realize that, then we're taking these brands in the past that had no chance, nowhere to go. There's no one who's going to help them and tell them this unless they pay for it, right? Now they have a platform to go to that's going to give them that first step, right? And then on top of that, give them the opportunity to continue to market their products in an intelligent way, in a guided way, of a CPG retail focused way. And like you said, exactly what you said, Jennifer, it's part of helping also, if we solve the buyer's problem of finding great products, and we solve the supplier's problem of getting their products to where they need to be, that makes a beautiful industry.
Yeah. Hey, let's use some breakdown of language just to make sure everybody's on the same page. You used a phrase that I want to make sure everybody knows, and that's challenger brands. Because to get to that stage, those are the people that might end up on a Shark Tank, or they may have just emerged with a few bucks from the sharks. The challenge, and maybe the most exciting category in food, although I'm still really partial to the startups with a dream. But let's just talk about the hierarchy and maybe the architecture of the current distribution stream in this category of food. We used to have fancy food. We used to have a lot of things. We used to have broken bread. We used to have a lot of things. You have really not only, I hate the word disrupted, but you've really disrupted in all the best ways. So let's talk about what the architecture is today of the distribution channel that you guys have really essentially created.
I think that what happened in the past year was, it was a wake-up call, right? Like the industry needed to at some point move in this direction to scale. You know, buyers in the last year, they're starting to like this. They like this, what we're doing right now. They like hanging out in their living room and looking at products and being able to discover them. What do you mean I don't have to travel? I don't have to travel to do my category review? Great. I'm happy with that. And I think that part of this is, you know, our RangeMe's goal is never to displace. You know, we're agnostic in this industry. Our job is to like work with trade show organizations to kind of be agile and to help them grow as well, because we know that suppliers are going to do it and it's part of their marketing mix. But really, like what you said, in the last year, the stake in the ground was Expo West. It was canceled the day before it was supposed to happen. It's the largest trade event in the food industry, bar none. Right? It was canceled the day before it was supposed to happen. Literally the day before. I remember half my team was there on Monday when it was canceled. It was starting on Tuesday. So insane, right? And I think that what happened was, what we saw was an industry that kind of scrambled, where it was like you had the ones who were ready, the ones who had a nice mix of not all their eggs in that one basket, start to branch out and be like, okay, I have online channels that exist that I can fall back on. I do D2C really, really well as well. I'm on RangeMe. I have all of these things that I can kind of use to grow. And those brands were the ones who accelerated that moment. They're like, great, acceleration. The other ones, and the ones who learned, had to learn the hard way, were the ones who had all those eggs in the basket. And I know it's hard, Jennifer. It's hard because when you're a new brand, or even when you're a challenger brand, you're like, I can now make it into Expo West. That's what I'm gonna do. This year was the first year I could do it. All my eggs are in that basket because I have made it. I got that investment. I'm ready to go. And what's lost in that is it's not about that moment or that event. It's about, what are you gonna do with your brand to scale, and what are the tools that are out there that are available to you. And it is true. No one was really making tools for CPG companies or for makers, for brands like that to go B2B. B2C, yes. D2C, yes. Right? But nothing B2B. And, you know, I think in the last year, people quickly realized that they need to diversify to get into retail, and that they need to be also where the buyers wanted to be. And the buyers want to be everywhere. Some of them still do want to travel, but they have travel bans. Right?
How could a space that's so essential, so pivotal, have kind of been overlooked in a way by all the development that's gone on literally all around you guys in the entire industry? It's not like people are asleep. I mean, everyone has such robust energy. There's vitality. There's excitement.
Yeah.
There's new products. I mean, just walk through a supermarket with your mask on and you will see literally tens and thousands of new products, and there are new categories. And the inventiveness in the food world right now it's crackling with energy. How did this get overlooked?
Well, I think you know, part of what you're describing.
It wasn't, you guys didn't overlook it, so. But I'm just saying, how did it come to be that this was just here for you?
Well, I think part of it was, you know, when you think about it, right? Retail now was actually different than 5 years ago too. So 5 years ago or 6 years ago, right, when RangeMe just started, you know, I was one of the founding members. I was the second person in the back of a cell phone repair shop in San Francisco. True startup story, you know, like living the dream. And I think at that moment there was a call to action, and retailers were starting to raise their hand, going, okay, consumers are able to find products where they want to now, and retailers are like, I need to create assortment now, because people are not shopping at my shelf anymore to discover. They're just shopping for a destination, right? And then suppliers are like, hey, it is great that this is the age of access, and I have a channel now on social media and my website to be able to sell. But now I have 1.3 million other competitors that have the exact same channels as me. So I still need to get into retail. And I think that moment, it was like an epiphany, right? That moment was the first inflection point. RangeMe didn't exist before it existed. I don't know how that happened. That's why I joined the company. I was like, I did my research. Like, how does this not exist, right? And then you all of a sudden go to a point where that's an inflection point. They realize that, but it takes a long time too.
Right.
One of the hardest things for retail and CPG is that's one of the knocks about the industry is you have all this energy, you have all this excitement, but there's these juggernauts that are kind of controlling the market share and how the market works. So it's kind of still slow. So this was kind of something new. The pandemic jolted it. It was that defibrillator, whatever it's called, the thing that you run together and you jumpstart, right? And it was like, oh my gosh, we need virtual. Virtual's existed. Oh my gosh, we need online. Well, online has existed. It's just that now it became not just a nice to have or the people in the know to have, it became a must have and a need to have. I think that's what happened. That's the next inflection point was that March day that Expo West was canceled. Everyone started to realize that. I
love that you've got a crystal ball that shows you the future of food. So, I mean, brother, you got to help me. You got to look in it for us, because now you can see things and you can connect dots that nobody even knew were dots that had relational context to one another.
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, can you give us a glimpse of two things? First, what does the future of food look like? And second, where's the opportunity for potential food entrepreneurs?
I mean, I think the future. I mean, I'll answer them kind of together. I think the future is absolutely bright and has never been brighter. You know, one of the things that we noticed in buyer behavior over the past year is that it didn't go away. Buyers still had to discover products, even though that some of these regionals and some of these independents, they're down. They went from the office and the buying office all the way to the helping at the cash register. That happened, right? But they still need to bring products in the store. And now we're fully back. We're fully back to a point where all products in all categories are being discovered. But now buyers have realized something. They realize that they have diversity as well. It's not just suppliers who are marketing their products differently. It's the buyers now that work with these retailers that are now like, okay, I can discover products not just during my category review time. It's not about just this moment in time or for the category review. Now I can discover products all year round. And part of that boon, right, was the channels for these retailers to reach consumers. So now e-commerce has boomed. That means more opportunities and unlimited shelf space, right? For new brands, new suppliers, new ideas, new products, new niches, things like that. So the future has never been brighter.
Does this mean slotting fees are gone because, in a sense, that real estate isn't the same value that it was before? Or how does that change or translate into this new limitlessness of digital shelf space?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can answer that for every single. There's no blanketed answer for that.
Are you seeing any trending though? How are the most? Let me ask it a different way, please. How are the most successful, progressive, thoughtful, inventive companies making these things better for everybody? How are the best practitioners in the business doing it?
From the retailer side or what side?
Either side.
Oh man, like I think.
Well, let's just say from the retailers, because we were talking about slotting fees, and if you were a mom and pop producer, you might not realize that the reason you see the things in the stores that you see at the shelf levels you do in the expanse that you do is because there's transactional placement that goes on.
Yeah.
In the quote unquote traditional 4P marketing mix. I mean, there's some of these principles that were still happening, but now with all of this application of amazing thinking and inventiveness, there really are better ways to do a lot of things. How are the best practitioners doing some of those things in retail? And
Yeah, I kind of get what you're getting. So here's something that's actually happening that's pretty exciting in the industry is you remember back in the day when you were discovered and you got picked up by a retailer, you'd have to go through a distributor. That distributor would take a little bit off the top. Then
onboarding.
Yeah, then there's an onboard. Then there's a new item management onboarding process, and then maybe 6 months later, you get on shelf.
Right.
And then after you had 6 months after you had your first yes, you get on shelf, right? What we've seen right now is the pandemic has taken some of the things that were not at scale yet for some of these retailers and really turbocharged them. So now you have retailers like when the pandemic hit, people needed PPE, right? All the PPE stuff, all the essentials, right? Toilet paper, masks, things like that. And a retailer couldn't wait 6 months to get them on a shelf. They had to get them online ASAP, right? In that moment. And I think that what we saw was the ability for the retailers to now start being very agile with that. They'll work with your 3PL, right? You can do your fulfillment if they can list you right away. And all of a sudden you're on Walmart.com, for example, right? And that didn't exist.
And 50 skids later, you're like a success story.
Yeah. All of a sudden, your life has changed, right? Because you've made it on shelf. And I think, and that shelf doesn't necessarily have to be physically on shelf. Of course, that's still a goal, but it's the brand equity that you want, right? It's the ability to work with the retailer that has, like Thrive is a great example. Right? They're a perfect example of that model of caring about the quality that's on shelf, but not having a shelf, right? And I think as more and more retailers start to do a hybrid model and start to grow that, it just means more opportunities for all the amazing challenger brands, all the amazing, the startups, new brands, everything like that. And even some of the ones in the past who are strictly brick and mortar to start expanding a lot of what they do. I've seen a lot of very well-established brands come back and realize I need to reach the regionals. I need to reach the independents. And I need to reach the online, online e-commerce stores that I never might have thought of in the past, but all of a sudden now they're relevant, right? They're relevant to me. They're relevant to my category. So you're seeing all of this happen, and I think the best thing about it, Jennifer, is there's room for everyone now. At least I feel that way. If you've got your stuff together, and you truly believe in it, and you want to take that leap, and you want to really invest in your product, and you want to really invest in what it takes to bring that product to market, I think if you're driven, you can still do it. And I think that it's much different than the years past when, it was about the handshake on the golf course.
I'm going to translate it. And when we talk about consumer packaged goods, of course, we're talking about much more than food. There are many other categories. But this is one of the ways I translate this experience. One of the things you've done is you've addressed the barriers to entry and the barriers that were the access points to retail, and you have lowered those substantially. So you've, in a sense, democratized that part of the process. So on some level, it's so much easier. The barriers to entry, they're there for those who work hard, develop really great products that people actually want, that can really fulfill the demand that is about to come. And on the other side, you've increased everyone's access. So when you lower it on one side and you access it, it's like you've just made a really smooth path for people to get there. And I think that is at its core, that reducing the barriers to entry. You're not just reducing barriers to entry, you're reducing the barriers to success. There are fewer barriers to people's success now, and it's much more about, are you making something awesome and getting it into people's hands? And,
Yeah.
and I wanted to say that, to me, is the simple genius of everything you're doing at Range.
It's been fun to watch. I mentioned kombucha in the bathtub. That's a real story. Like, we have seen in the last 5 years, I've watched companies grow from just that to selling in regional retail, major retail, top shelf retail, everything. And it's exciting to see. And it's beautiful to watch because it shows that the dream is alive. And if brands really put the effort forward. You get what you get in. You get out what you put in.
So I'm going to ask you a favor. On behalf of everybody in the industry that has had their old life impacted by COVID, bring them to this point. Can you help me convey, maybe not a pep talk, but can you give the opportunity that exists thanks to RangeMe to everybody who has been impacted by COVID about the fact that not only is this moment, silver lining moment, upon us, now is the time, but can you share what's possible now? Can you plant the seed for a new American dream?
Yeah, I mean, it's really about opening your eyes, right? And I think that part of this is, RangeMe, for example, it's free. It's free to be on the platform. It's very similar to LinkedIn, right? So if you're a challenger brand or you're a growing brand and you want more, you can pay for a premium version of it, but it's free. You set up your sell sheet, it's free. What you do with that sell sheet, you can still go to the farmer's market. You can still do your cold calling. You can still do your marketing and your sales. You can still hire a broker. You can do all of those things, right? But what hasn't existed before was the ability to scale that, right? That's why there are so many brands who put their eggs in these baskets, because they can't scale. What RangeMe has done is, like you said, it's lowered the barrier to entry for someone who has a dream and a great idea and the ability to execute and the drive to do so. Time is a currency, money is a currency, but all of this kind of rolls up to the part is, what are you doing with it? Are you getting the best return on your investment and your time and on your in the dollars that you spend? RangeMe is a great example of the tools that are out there that exist that you just have to open your eyes and see. 200,000 suppliers is a lot of suppliers, but that means there are 1.1 million that aren't, right? And they have an opportunity. So if you're out there and, and you're, like you said, your life has been impacted by COVID. I used to own a cookie company. It's called Doughie's Cookies. And RangeMe didn't exist when it was my mom's recipe. I remember driving around San Francisco with batches of cookies, after pop-up shops selling out 500 dozen in a couple of hours. I would go to I went to the San Francisco Chocolate Factory. I went to Cocoa Bella Chocolates. I went to different places. I went to Andronico's, and I walked in with a box of chocolate chip cookies. I didn't know what to do with them. I'm like, can I speak to the person who can help me get this there? I want this to be there, right? And no one was there to help me. All the research in the world, no one's there to help me. It always led me back to a retailer. It always led me back to a new product form. It always led me back to a broker. It always led me back to a distributor. And I'm like, but I want to do this on my own. And if RangeMe had existed when that happened, maybe I'd still have that cookie company, and my mom would be laying back in your cookie fortune or fortune cookie.
I love that.
Yes, in your cookie fortune, in her $1 billion home, right? But like I said, that's the drive that you have. If you have that drive and you have that time and you want to use it in a way that's going to scale your business, there are tools out there like RangeMe that exist. Just have to open your eyes and find them, and they're out there.
Can we just take a look at the site? I want to make sure that for everybody out there that has a food dream, that we can tell them immediately how to take action and how to find out if, in fact, they are ready. We're going to go to rangeme.com right now. I've got a couple of pages. What's the most important place for entrepreneurs and fledgling consumer packaged goods companies that are dreaming of a big sale to a big box? What's the best thing somebody can do? What's the first thing you suggest somebody do?
One of the ththings that's most important is commit, right? So I think that we see a lot of suppliers who are scared. They get to a point where they sign up. Okay, they see RangeMe exist. While they're searching, they see RangeMe exist, and they get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this, and then it asks them the first question, and then they fill it out, and then they find out the second question. And then when they realize that they might not have all of the things available for them, they stop. Don't stop, commit. Keep going. Answer the questions that you don't know later. Answer the questions that you have. Get the stuff that you don't have. That's how you get started.
Let's look at
what we're showing right now is
this. Jonathan, can you do a 3-shot so I can have my friend looking at this as well?
Yeah, I can work it through you guys. But while he's doing that, like really what it's about is commit to getting your products up, believe in your products, and care that you're going to be able to use this for all of your kind of like B2B activities. But look, guys, it's about the commitment. It's about saying that this is what I want to do. I know I don't have everything. It's impossible that you did when you're a baker at home and you're a cookie company. It's impossible. You might be dabble a little bit into graphic design to make a great logo, and you have your mom's recipe, but that doesn't mean that you're a CPG company and you're ready for retail.
What's the holy grail you're on the hunt for right now? Your retailers are saying, I want this. Who are you looking for that doesn't know that you're looking for them?
So I think really what it's about, there's a lot of trends out there that are big, that are thriving right now. One of the big ones is sustainability, right? Products that practice sustainable practices, things like that. You'll see some of the logos for certifications that this coffee company has. But this is a great example of a company that's showing off what they do, right? They're showing off that they have a fair trade certification because they're a coffee company. And what it's really doing is you're setting up your profile to hopefully get the attention of a buyer. So imagine this. All of the things that you would do to differentiate yourself. We all have a story. All of us have a story. And there's not one buyer that I've ever spoken to, though. It may not be the most important. I've talked to thousands of buyers now. It may not be the most important thing, 1 to 10, but it's the one thing that every single buyer has told me. And every single retail buyer has told me one of the most important things, and one of the things they look for is the brand story. And are you telling your story through your images, through your packaging, through your actual story itself about who you are, through your social media? All of that you can tell. RangeMe is a place that you can do that. And RangeMe gives you the opportunity to have it accessible to that buyer while also giving them the information that they need to make a decision. So you're talking about margin, right? Marketing spend, barcodes, things like that. They have all of that information available to them. And when a buyer is working through RangeMe, it's very similar to if you've ever used a like Kayak or Priceline, right? To search for flights. So imagine you set your dates of travel. So a buyer, what he or she does is sets their category that they buy for. So let's say it's health and beauty or food and beverage, right? They set their category that they buy for. And then after you set your dates of travel, you get to pick, I want nonstop flights. I want flights in this price range. I want flights around these dates. And you filter down, and then it gives you all of those results.
And a buyer can do that now on your site.
Absolutely. They can look for certifications. They can look for margin that they're looking for, regions that products are being made in, all of these different ways to filter through. And the more information you give, the more you commit. The more you commit to your story, to your product, and the more you believe in it, it will show through your profile, and buyers will use that to find you.
Determination is the word I'm hearing you say, even though we're not quite saying that, we're saying commit. Yeah. Here on this multi-product page, can you take us through some of the things, and is this the kind of thing that a retailer is going to look at?
Yeah, this is what a buyer sees. So if you look at the top there, they'll have a search menu. So what they can do is, right now let's say this is skincare. So this is a skincare buyer. I'm a skincare buyer, and I just set my category. The great part about this is now what I can do is I can search for CBD. I can search for lanolin. I can search for water-based, right? And what happens, it will filter down, the algorithm will take it down to those products that have those attributes. But they can also take some of those smart filters underneath that search bar, and they can look for specific subcategories. If you're working with a distributor, certifications, where the product is made. That ton of retailers are local is a big thing right now. Your local retailer, even though it might be a big box, your local retailer is looking for local products. I guarantee you that, to speak to their
now talk to me about something that I don't know because I'm not on there. Is there a way that they can shop by price and price compare? And is there a mechanism for people to have say you've got something that's going out of date and you want to sell it and let people know, I've got this, but I'm giving you a screaming deal, but you got to buy it now because you've only got 3 months on the product date. Well, what are those kinds of things?
So the beauty of RangeMe is that it gives everybody equal footing. It is the gateway into the conversation. You know, one of the retailers that's on our platform is Dollar General, right? So they use RangeMe, and they look for certain things, exactly what you're talking about, right, Jennifer? And it's really about how the buyers want to use their filters and the way that you're telling your story, and then the product story as well. So all of these things that you're talking about, how you market your product, are available here. This enhances that experience, but it's directed solely to buyers. So it's not trying to reach buyers that aren't interested in it either. It's specifically reaching buyers that are looking for it, that are looking for you. And that's the exciting part here.
The adaptiveness of your program is so unbelievable that this is only the beginning. I love that it's only the beginning. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been fun. Like it's quite a ride. And as you can tell, I'm really passionate about what we do. And, you know, I literally come to work every day. Well, now stay home and come to work every day, but to continue this momentum and to continue to help amazing entrepreneurs continue to get their foot in the door and continue to help support these retailers to bring those products onto their shelves. So, have you discovered a new product that you now can't live without through this? I've discovered a lot of new products. It's funny because my wife told me when I started working at RangeMe, we started to get more and more differentiated products, and I started to do a lot more. Like, why do we have all these subscriptions to different types of retailers like Thrive? Why do we have all of these things now? And like, you know, the kids had, you know, cauliflower crisps the other day, and they're like, these are really good. Then I'm like, yes, they're eating their vegetables. But you know, in the past, where would I find cauliflower crisp in abundance, right? I owe that all to RangeMe and being able to watch these trends happen. Keto, you know, just like I said, sustainability, supplier diversity, all of these amazing trends that have been happening, and to be on top of it and to watch it happen as buyers, to actually watch it in real time, right? These trends are happening real time in front of us. And, you know, that's part of this exciting part of this too, is we can see these trends happening and transpiring before they hit the shelf. How cool is that?
It's so exciting. I have to tell you, I'm kind of like a junkie. You know how some kids watch other kids play video games? I kind of want to watch buyers and sellers interact. I think there's like a whole league ready to happen of watching the flow of goods and services from entrepreneurs to the marketplace. This could be my new favorite addiction. Can you create a channel where I can just watch these things happen? Oh my God, look at that!
Jennifer, you and I after this, let's get something moving. I'd love to share more with you.
Brandon, Leong, we got some comments from our audience as well. They're saying this is very inspiring. I know there are a lot of people in the universe that are saying that Thrive is such a great pivot.
Yeah.
Good to know in relation to my daughter's product.
Keep the dream alive. Oh,
no,
I've known her for 40 minutes and I already feel like she is. So
listen, I got to say thank you so much. I can't wait for you and I to be in the same room and have some fun together. But please, anytime you've got news, anytime you want to talk with us, I just want you to consider that you've got an open invitation and our platform is yours now. You've done something so extraordinary for our industry. I really and truly, I can't thank you enough. Some people get excited about going to Mars. Some people get excited about cars that drive themselves. This, if you can't tell, I'm about as excited as you are. I'm as jazzed as you are. This is, to me, is more exciting than going to Mars.
It is for me too, 100%. So
thanks an awful lot.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Great to see everybody.
Cheers. RangeMe.com if you're a food entrepreneur, or RangeMe.com if you're a retailer. That's the place to start. In fact, everything is going to start and grow from there. And this, my friends, it's only the beginning. It's a really exciting time. And I think that everything that everyone has felt like they had to make room for the new with by losing, the infinite potential of the possibilities that await us, you could start by looking at range.com. Cheers.
Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever fine books are sold.
Need a push getting your spirits, wine, or beverage brand into the hands of consumers? Interested in winning medals like a double gold award? Proof Awards 2020, the ultimate beverage competition, can help jumpstart your brand into the hands of beverage buyers. Enter the Proof Awards. Be a part of the Proof Awards marketing campaign with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. All of our judges are buyers, and that's what sets our awards program apart from the others. Our judges head the beverage programs for restaurants, bars, nightclubs, casinos, liquor stores, big box retail, and national wine and spirits distributors. Your brand will be tasted by buyers from more than 15 states across the U.S. We have hundreds of categories to choose from at www.proofawards.com. Be seen by 12 million readers with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. Get tasted and rated by buyers. The 2020 Proof Awards competition is open for spirits, wine, and beverage brands today. Proof Awards 2020, moving brands into the marketplace. www.proofawards.com.